Hello everyone. So in this video I will discuss one of the fundamental principle of object-oriented programming, and that is inheritance. So what is inheritance? So inheritance, the derived class inherits all the properties and methods of a parent class. So let me demonstrate this with the help of an example. First I will mention a base class, and I will give two properties to it. Let's give two int variables. One is x, the other one is y. And I will also mention one method, and I will name it display. And what it will do, it will just display two things. First, it will display base to indicate that this display method is inside the base class, and the second display method will display the values of this properties. And y. So this was our base class. It's a very simple example. Now in inheritance, there will be a derived class, and for this example, I will name it derived, and that derived class will inherit all the properties and the methods of the base class, and it can be done using the keyword extends. So using this, our argument will be the base class from which it is inheriting all the properties and methods. So we will write base. So by default, I don't need to mention anything. It just has all the things that is inside the base class. So I will go ahead and write a test module. So inside the test module, I will declare handle for both the base class and the derived class. Now I will begin with the initial block. And here I will assign objects to each of the handles by using new. So first what I will do, first let me explain it that two separate objects have been created, and by default, even though there is nothing mentioned inside this derived class, it still holds everything which is inside the base class. So I will assign some value. First I will assign some value to the properties of the base class. Let's assign 1 to x, and let's assign 2 to y, and let's assign uh, the x variable of the derived class with 4, and the y variable of the derived class with 5. So this class will also contain the method. So first I will call the method of the base class, which will just uh, print this base string and the value of the variables x and y. So I will just write b dot display. Similarly, I will do this for d. Okay, so first let's go ahead and check for any possible compilation errors. Okay, there are no errors. So I will simulate the code. So as you can see right here that first we are calling the display method of the base class. That's why first it is printing base, and then as you can see right here that we have assigned the value of 1 and 2 to x and y respectively. So that's why we are seeing here x1 and 2. And similarly, we are calling the display method for the derived class, and it will just do whatever is mentioned in the base class. It will first display the base, then it will print its own copy of x and y, because the handle D has a different, it is pointing towards the different object, and to that object I have assigned 4 and 5 to both x and y respectively. So you can see it right here that the base class, I mean the base is same for both of the class, and then for the variables it is printing 4 and 5. So other than that, the derived class can add more properties and methods. So on top of these, it can add more stuff. So what I will do, I will just declare another variable. Let's name it A. And I will also declare another method. And I will call it print. So inside print, what I will do, I will display two things very similar to the base class. First, I will display that I am inside the derived class, so I will just write derived. And the second thing will be the value of A. So I will go ahead and in the test module, I will assign some value to A. Let's assign 10. And then we will call the method of the derived class, which is print. So let's go ahead and check for any possible compilation error. Okay, it's fine. So I will simulate the code. So as you can see right here, when we call the print method, it just did whatever is mentioned inside the class. That first it printed derived, Then it printed the assigned value of 10. That is the value of a which I have assigned right here. So it inherits all the properties and methods of the base class, and also it can add more properties and methods of the base class. Other than that, it can also replace the property or any method of the base class. So what I will do right here is I will just change this method to display, and it will just replace the display of the base class to with this variant, and it will only do this for the derived class. So here for the derived class object. So what I will do, since the print method no longer exists, I will just comment it, and I will move this value here. Now I am calling the display method, and here in the derived class the display method is different and it has replaced the one which you have in base. So I will go ahead and check for any possible compilation error again. Now I will simulate the code. So as you can see right here that I only called the display method, and the display method of the derived class is different to that of base one. So it is printing derived and then it is printing the value of a. So these three were the fundamental properties of inheritance, that it inherits all the properties of the base class, and the second is that it can add more properties and methods, which I did right here. And the third one is that it can replace the property or method which is declared in the base class, which I did right here. So other than that, I would like to highlight some more additional things which are very important. So the first one is that that the handle of the base class type can point to the object of the derived class, but the vice versa is not true. I mean, the handle of the child class cannot point to the object of the base class. So allow me to demonstrate this. So what I will do, I will just comment this, and instead of assigning new object to the handle of the base class type, I will just make it point to the object of the derived class. So since it is pointing to the object of the derived class, it will just use the properties and the methods of the derived class. So let's check that. So I will go ahead and check for any compilation error. Okay, there are none, and I will simulate the code. Okay, even though we pointed out, I mean, we make the handle of the base class to point towards the derived class object, it is still it is still printing the values or the methods which is mentioned inside the base class. So why it is happening that? So it is because of the reason, even though it points toward this object, it will only use the methods and the properties of the type, because this handle is of base type, and side base, the display is different and the properties are different. So it is possible to make it point to the derived class and also print the methods and everything of the derived class. We can just do that just by writing virtual. By declaring this function virtual, it could be done. So I will save the code, and now what it will do, it will just uh, print out, it will just call the display function of the derived class because it is pointing towards the object of the derived class. So just virtual keyword is enough to do that. So I will go ahead. First, I will check for any compilation error. I will go ahead and run the code. So now, as you can see right here, since we have declared the function inside the base class to be virtual, and we made the handle of base type to point to the object of the derived class, it is printing everything which is present inside the object of the derived class. So we can do that just by using the virtual keyword. So there is one another important point which I would like to mention. So what I will do, I will just comment this and I will use the previous code. So that important thing is that by default, whenever you create an object of a derived class, what it does, it calls the constructor of the base class implicitly. So to its perspective, the constructor of the base class will be super.new. And you know that super keyword is used to refer to the properties and methods of the base class from which the targeted class is derived. So it calls the constructor of the base class implicitly. But what happens? What happens if I declare the constructor inside the base class with some formal arguments? Let's find out. So I will declare the constructor, and the argument will be of string data type, and constructor will do very simple thing. It will just display whatever the argument is passed. So observe, here I have mentioned the constructor with a formal argument. Now, as per the rule, it should show an error. So let's find out. So as you can see right here, we are getting 10 errors. There are lots of errors. And the very simple logic behind those error is that we have a constructor function, a constructor method inside the base class that takes formal arguments. And for such case, the the object of the derived class will not call the constructor of the base class implicitly. Then you have to make it call explicitly by defining the constructor inside the derived class. So that's the rule. So what I will do, I will define the constructor method, and also one of the other reason for getting an error, first I will like to check it. So other reason is that since there are no default value for this formal arguments, I should also mention some value for when I'm creating the object of the base class. So let's just call it inside basis constructor. So again, it will show error because of the same reason, but we will go ahead and compile it again. Yeah, it is still showing error. So this is not the only reason. So I will continue with declaring the constructor explicitly and calling it explicitly and calling the base class constructor explicitly. So inside this, I will write super.new and I will pass some argument. Let's write any string inside the derived class constructor. So it will just do that. So now we have explicitly called the constructor of the parent or the base class. Now I will save the code and now I will check whether there are any compilation errors. Okay, there are still. Oh yeah, it's a typo. Okay, the code is fine. Now we will go ahead and simulate the code. So as you can see right here that our code is working just fine. So it is so right here that we have mentioned the string while creating the object for the base class and the string is inside base constructor. So it will just display that string and it is getting done right here. You can see right here. Similarly, we created the object of the derived class and derived class is explicitly calling the constructor of the base class and it will display the string which you can see right here. Other than that, everything is same as usual. The display method is being called for both the base class and the derived class. So this was all about the fundamental, one of the fundamental of object-oriented programming, that is inheritance. So stay tuned for more, and thank you so much.